Hi all. Just another quick video, kind of a review of some of the things that we talked about in the stress management aspect of the course. I just wanted to go a little bit deeper because I found some of these assignments, these exercises to be extremely helpful. So um, we're going to go deeper, as I said, into this idea of stress management. And I want you to think as you're doing this exercises or these exercises, what stressors are out there that are affecting your health? And really, is it worth the effort? We saw all the things that stress can do to you. And I've done this assignment before in the past, and essentially what I wanted to do is show you what some of the students have kind of submitted so that you can get an idea for what you should kind of work on for this assignment. So these are just quotes that students have had in the past about their grades, and these are, again, sinkholes or negative thoughts that turned out to be not true. One student said they were convinced that they failed a test, completely stressed out about it, and realized you can always make it up, and ended up with a low B anyway. Received negative feedback on an assignment and thought automatically this teacher hates me. I assure you, no teacher hates you. Teachers are too busy to hate individual students. We just don't have enough work, or excuse me, we just don't have enough time to have negative thoughts about one particular student. We're extremely busy, and sometimes our feedback may be um, a little quick or blunt, but no teacher hates you. Your work is graded based on your output, and that's it. Going into a test, I usually think that I'm going to fail, even if I know the material well. And this is something that I've seen over and over again. And then again, they replace that with more positive. Even if I don't get the greatest score, who cares? It's just one test. So that's what I'm looking for you to do is identify these negative ideas that you have, these sinkholes that you fall into, and figure out ways that you can replace these. An example of jumping to conclusions. Somebody sat into class and the teacher said, "Hey, I need to see you after class," and immediately he thought he was in trouble. So the entire class, he sat there kind of panicking. And then when it turns out at the end of the class, he found out that he didn't give back a quiz that he thought that he actually got an A on. So sometimes you get a phone call from a friend or a relative, and you immediately jump to the conclusion of, oh, I wonder what this person wants, and maybe they just want to reach out to you. Maybe they're just looking for something. Sometimes they do want something from you, but sometimes you have reasons that you're jumping to those conclusions. You need to learn how to accept constructive criticism. It will be an important part of your success, whether you're talking about school or whether you're talking about work. Now, sometimes, that criticism that you're receiving can be given in a way that may not be the most polite, but you need to accept that, that's part of life, and you need to accept that you will be receiving regular feedback for the rest of your life. So you might as well get used to it. Constructive criticism can be positive. And if you listen to it and listen to what they're saying, and you take that criticism, that feedback, and you make adjustments in your performance, then next time you can have a more positive response, hopefully. Some people shoot for perfectionism all the time. They get upset if they get an A minus or a B. You don't need to be perfect. I have a chemistry degree. My bachelor's degree is in chemistry. We used to say C is for chemistry. Okay. I have a cousin who's a dentist. He used to say D is for dentist. All right. So you don't have to be perfect all the time. Not everything is going to be perfect. One example I see of this is women who are getting married, and they just want the whole wedding to be perfect. And if something doesn't go wrong, they absolutely have a panic attack. And something is going to go wrong. So just accept that, enjoy the day for what it is. Externalization, always blaming something else for things that you really should be owning up to for yourself. I always blame the traffic if I'm late. And I say it's the other person. People weren't driving as fast, or they couldn't, but what did you do to contribute to that situation? Maybe you need to leave a little bit earlier. I have a good friend who does this all the time. He drives like an absolute maniac and starts cursing at everybody because they're getting in his way. And he's driving, 30 miles over the speed limit. So, it's you need to. We'll talk about internalization too, but not everything is somebody else's fault. Sometimes you need to kind of accept responsibility. Double sinkholes. So this was a pretty good example. Often the things that are most important are the things that I tend to minimize. In this situation, a great exam grade or great grade on a paper I tend to undervalue. This is a double sinkhole because not only am I magnifying this stupid little quiz grade that doesn't really matter, and I, didn't really think about the overall importance of the very good grade that I got. So sometimes people get nitpicky on these little stupid little grades for the different things that they get. And meanwhile, they're still carrying an A in the course. I get that a lot. People get upset with me because they get an A minus on one assignment when they still clearly have an A in the class. I mean, come on, get a life, right? Personalization. This is kind of like internalization as well. And I get this a lot. Somebody says, I can't even watch the Eagles anymore because every time I watch them, they lose. You watching an Eagles game has no impact on their outcome. Trust me. All right. So, or this is a little bit more important. When playing sports, and if you make a mistake and the team loses, you think that one mistake cost the game. And that's ridiculous. There's no such thing. I coach a rugby team. I know for a fact. If a kicker misses a kick at the end of the game and they lose by 2 points, yeah, the kicker could have won the game, but whose fault is it that they weren't ahead by 15 points, right? So, you can't take it's a team effort to win or lose any game. Um, and this was another one. Yeah, I hardly ever watch my favorite football team, the Eagles, because I'm stuck in this idea that every time I watch them play, they're going to lose. I get that a lot. That's ridiculous. I know it's not ridiculous to experience that, but because I experience those things again, but it's a negative thought that is not based in fact. Tunnel vision. So you can kind of look through these. I'm going to kind of go through these. And I think you should push back. I mentioned before that I'm a coach. I don't do it much anymore because I don't have a lot of time, but I was always involved with this group called the Positive Coaching Alliance. And this idea is the main goal of this group is to promote positive reinforcement in coaching. Part of the issue is that most coaches are volunteers, and a lot of times that constructive criticism that we're being, especially when it's uh, especially when it's excessive, when it's coming in yelling or screaming at pieces, especially young children. I mean, I know I played football and rugby. I know I was essentially screamed at by a lot of coaches, and that does not do any good to the children, especially. So I would encourage you to look this up, Positive Coaching Alliance. If you want to do a paper on this for your final paper, you're welcome to do that. And the idea here is that happier, more relaxed athletes put more points on the scoreboard. So if you feel like your coach is being inappropriate, if you play on a team and you feel your coach is being inappropriate, say something to the coach. Say something. Get together with the captains of the team and maybe even a parent or two and push back. And just as long as the coach understands, just hand them a piece of literature from this organization, and I think it would help a lot. Rugby is probably a little bit worse than some sports, unfortunately. And recruit somebody to help you with this. When if you have somebody that you're close to, somebody that you're friendly with, or a spouse or a significant other, just talk to them and try and explain to them that you're trying to readjust your thinking patterns in a more positive way. I mean, I said it kind of nerdy, but kind of think of it, try and reframe that sentence in a way that's not so scientific and nerdy. But you're trying to readjust your thinking pattern essentially, and you want to think more positively. So try to recruit a friend to help you do that. And when you help each other recognize negative thoughts and help them try to replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And whatever it is, you can feel free to read through these examples. And like I said, feel free to read through this. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but it was just somebody driving in the car and they cut you off. The first thing you want to do is flip them the bird or yell at them or whatever, honk the horn, or speed up and cut them off. But instead, just let it go. You can still flip them the bird, but just let them go, and don't let it ruin your day. And more importantly, don't let it put you in a dangerous situation. There's a lot of crazy people out there, and you never know when flipping somebody off. They could have a gun in the car, and they might just, it could turn ugly. So just blow it off and don't let it bother you. Okay? So that's my advice. I hope this was helpful. Take care.